We are in the final installment of Section 1 of Chapter 1 about the Roman art, architecture, and law. Again, just like always, I would like to walk you through the process of logging into our world history book. So you want to go to our website, law.usd.net, and then from there, click Clever, and then Cengage, and then from there, you need to log in your student account with the law.usd.org and the same password that you are using. From there, the navigation tool is from the left side, Unit 1, Chapter 1, Section 1.6, Art, Architecture, and Law, pages 22 to 23. Go ahead, expand this page so that you can see it clearly. The objective of this lesson is to understand the lasting legacy of Rome in modern-day art, architecture, and law. Again, the essential question of this chapter is what was the power and enduring legacy of the Roman Empire? Romans were known as excellent city planners. In other words, they did not just put buildings and other infrastructures randomly. They were strategic about the positions of this so that it will be efficient in conducting their affairs and in protecting their cities. The Romans developed many ideas that continue to influence our lives today. For example, in art, as with their philosophy, Romans preferred realistic approach to art. For example, this bas-relief right here. The image pops out and it is so realistic that the proportion of head, the torsos, and in comparison to other figures in this sculpture is so realistic. The paintings and statues that decorated their homes showed people and things as they really looked like. You're probably thinking, what's so unusual about that? Isn't it that's just normal? Although there is nothing unusual about that in our time today, in the ancient time, this is really something groundbreaking. Or should I say, this is like, in their time, futuristic. Because art during this time is really not as good as what the Greeks actually and the Romans do. Well, of course, that's just my opinion. Of course, a lot of historians and history teachers will disagree with that. But for me, the Greeks and the Romans for sure made a lot of arts that are realistic and just like what I said, futuristic or ahead of their time. For example, an expensive design feature in Roman villas are mosaic floors. A mosaic is a grouping of tiny colored stone cubes set in mortar to create a picture or a design. Like this one. Wealthy Romans also covered their walls with frescoes. It is a picture painted directly onto a wall. Like this one. Finally, the Roman bas-relief. Or if you will just read it literally, it should just read bas-relief. But according to the experts, it's bas-relief. It is a realistic sculpture with figures raised against a flat background. An example of this is obviously the picture that is in this page, in this lesson that I showed you a while ago. It also looks like this. Remember, the objective of this lesson is to understand the lasting legacy of Rome in modern-day art and architecture. Sculptures like this appear today on monuments such as the National World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. Do you see the embossed eagle here in the picture? Romans' architectural influence is everywhere. European roads still follow Roman routes and sometimes cross original Roman bridges as well. Roman architectural styles such as columns, arches, and domes can be seen in the US Capitol and other buildings, not just here in the United States, but it can be seen almost across the globe. The Roman influence of the design of the Roman capital is undeniable. Finally, let's talk about law and government. So the structure of the United States government reflects elements of the Roman Republic, including representative assemblies and systems of checks and balances. Now that's a lot to unpack, but a quick overview is like this. We vote for people who will represent us to the government. That is a Roman influence. Another thing, the checks and balances. In our government, it's divided into three main branches, which you will learn later in your 8th grade US history and your senior government class. Again, that's a lot, but the general idea is how we run our government is very much because of the influence of the Roman thinking or philosophy. Other examples of their influence is the basic idea of a fair judge, or the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, and equality under the law also come from the Romans as well. You will be surprised that prior to the Romans, a lot of these basic rights that we neglect today were not even existing. I think we covered the Latin language in the previous lesson, but it is a language that is still very much a part of our modern law and other fields and professions. The language has direct and indirect influence to our language in the language that we are using right now, the English language that we are using and other languages across the globe. But there are also direct influences of this language because even today in the law and other professions such as the medical profession, they are still using Latin languages to be very precise and specific to their description. The bottom line of all these lessons is the legacy of Rome in our language, laws, government, art, and architecture, and I believe in so much more, such as the food that we eat. So the Romans are everywhere. By the way, even how we do school or education today is definitely a direct influence of how the Romans did it. Now let's go to the review and assess questions. The first one, reading checked. What Roman achievements in art and architecture influence our lives today? There were examples of arts that were mentioned a while ago, and I gave examples of modern day infrastructures and arts. Next, number 2, make connections. How has the government of the Roman Republic influenced the structure of the US government? These were mentions just right on top of this review and assess box. Finally, compare and contrast. How are the layouts of many towns and cities today similar to those in ancient Rome? I believe I did not elaborate this one, so listen very carefully. When a new Roman town was created, city planners took into account city's climate and geography. So the Romans always tried to establish a grid pattern for the streets. That means that the streets form a network of intersecting horizontal and vertical lines. Many towns and cities use this pattern today. I don't know if you've been to Sacramento or probably any city. If you will use your imagination, a lot of the modern day cities today are a lot like that. They are just like grids of squares. So roads or streets are intersecting vertical and horizontal lines. Furthermore, I forgot to mention this. So like the Romans, modern day builders rely on concrete to build strong, tall, and unusual buildings. In other words, it's not just for functions, but it's also for style or designs. That's called architecture, right? Engineering is more on function, but architecture is a combination of function and design. So these are the 3 questions that you need to answer in our Google Classroom. The reading check, what Roman achievements in art and architecture influence our lives today? How has the government of the Roman Republic influenced the structure of the US government? And finally, how are the layouts of many towns and cities today similar to those in ancient Rome? Again, just in case you will have a hard time accessing your book, here's the layout of this page. All you have to do is just pause it and read it and move it forward so that you will get the information that you need. However, I truly want you to access your book, use your book so that you can highlight, make notes, and it's easier that way. I think you can magnify and even see other stuff in your book. Go ahead, go to our Google Classroom and answer this review and assess questions, and please don't forget to turn them in before the class ends. Don't wait too long like this guy.